But don't run off and, thrash your organization by saying, oh, I heard Gemini is great, so why aren't we using that? The truth is, your team, you should set up a team that knows what they're doing. They've picked a home-based model for a reason. You've got a use policy, and this is normal, and everybody should take a deep breath.
This is AI First with Adam and Andy, the show that takes you straight to the front lines of AI innovation in business. I'm Andy Sack, and alongside my co-host, Adam Brotman. Each episode, we bring you candid conversations with business leaders transforming their businesses with AI. No fluff, just real talk, actionable use cases, and insights for you. Greetings, everyone. Greetings, Adam. Today, we've got a mini episode on Gemini 3, which just released yesterday. It's so hot off the presses that I haven't even had a chance to play with it materially. Adam's dug in some, but what we wanted to do is just talk about, if you're an executive and there's a loud splash in the market in the AI domain, and in this case, Gemini 3, what should you be doing? And so, Adam, what's your advice for executives given Gemini 3 just launched and how they should be thinking about it? And you can even personalize it to me. Like I'm a pretty, at this point, heavy ChatGPT user. Do I need to be spending all my time now over in Gemini? Is it that much better? How should I think about that tool?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So let's take it away from Gemini 3 for a minute. Let's come back to my thoughts on Gemini 3 specifically, but I'm glad you brought up the fact that there's going to be this splash that's going to happen. You probably are going to hear it in the water of AI every 45 days or so. And yesterday's was Gemini 3 splashed in, and it's a fantastic new model. It's beating everybody on the benchmarks. It's and you can't get away from it in the news. So to your point, you're going to be like, uh-oh, what do I need? How should I be thinking about this? The first thought you should have is remind yourself, if you don't already have a primary tool that your AI task force or council has authorized through some AI acceptable use policy for your business, that is your home-based tool, like you need to have one. So if you're hearing that splash in the water and you don't have a home-based tool, that should be your reminder that like you need to get a council, you need to get a use policy, you need to get a home-based tool, because you should always be having a little bit of FOMO every time some new model comes out from a frontier system that's not your home-based tool. You should be asking yourself the questions, Andy, you just said. But the answer is no. You should take a deep breath, realize that every 45 or 60 days or so, I think for at least the next year. I mean, it's been the case for the last year. There's no indication it's not going to be the case for the next year. There's going to be a ChatGPT 6. There's going to be a Claude 5. Like when that splash comes down, you should have the comfort, if you don't already, to know, hey, it's okay. I've got my home-based tool, and you should have a group of people at your company, a person or a task force or an AI officer or somebody whose job it is part-time to play with all the other frontier models and understand how they do compared to your home-based tool. And are they better at certain things than others? Should you be letting should some other small group of people be able to use a different tool than the home-based tool, and why? These are questions you should be asking yourself. And it is going to become even more normal for a while that the frontier models are going to keep coming out, making a splash, being better. You should play with it, in my opinion. Like there are free versions of these models. So you as an individual leader and executive should play with it and be thinking about that. But don't run off and, thrash your organization by saying, oh, I heard Gemini is great, so why aren't we using that? The truth is, your team, you should set up a team that knows what they're doing. They've picked a home-based model for a reason. You've got a use policy, and this is normal, and everybody should take a deep breath. The second thing I'll say, Andy, just by way of like at that level, is it should be a reminder to you of how fast the space is moving. The fact that this is going to be happening across the frontier systems. And again, it's either confirming that you've already been on an AI transformation and gotten on it, or it should be another wake-up call, that splash that you need to get on it.
Let me just add to what you're saying and then we'll conclude, which is, I think it's pretty clear that the large language models that in general executives choose the one that they're comfortable with. And we're relatively indifferent. We do think that there are strengths and weaknesses to each one, but you can choose whatever you're comfortable with. We happen to be predominantly a ChatGPT shop. Gemini 3 launched yesterday. I'm excited to try it. I probably, I don't need to try it today. There's a lot of buzz in the market about it, but I will make a point of starting to use it more. And I frequently, in the course of doing a project, will toggle and test what is the output that if I put this in Claude, if I put this in Gemini, I'll frequently test that. And that helps me learn where the different models are stronger. I think from an ideation perspective, I think Claude does a better job. From a writing perspective, Claude does a better job. But overall, I'm most comfortable within the ChatGPT universe. And I think you should be totally fine picking your lane and dabbling with the other models, particularly as there's news that one of them has made a significant step forward. So I think that's
Yeah.
our practical advice for today. Adam, anything you want to add before we close up?
I would just say that keep in mind that this is a little bit in the weeds of how some of the things we say in a boot camp, but keep in mind that it's not our advice that as a company, as an enterprise, that you should only limit yourself to one model at all times for all people. Like um, there are models and systems and even wrapper apps that you're gonna want to not only experiment with, but even give permission for different people to use at different times in your organization. So it's not a one size fits all forever deal when it comes to these systems. And so keep that in mind. The only thing I'd also mention is, since we said this is about Gemini 3, I did use it. It is pretty amazing. It is more agentic, in my opinion. It does seem to think a little faster and a little better for a little longer, and kind of hold a thought, and it starts to feel like it's like a little mini employee doing a task, which is what an agentic kind of system would feel like. And so I do think we continue to see these systems as they progress become more agentic, and go from just basic reasoning models and thinking models to like really feeling like they are a little agent for you. I can't wait to, by the way, use Gemini 3 in Notebook LM, for example, because I know that they typically will swap out whatever model is under the hood of Notebook LM for the latest model. And I can only imagine how good Notebook LM will be as a defined source research engine with this kind of a new capability under the hood.
Awesome. Well, with that, have fun playing with Gemini 3. Thanks for listening to AI First with Adam and Andy. For more resources on how to become AI First, you can visit our website, forum3.com. You can download case studies, research briefings, and executive summaries, and join our email list. We also invite you to connect with our AI First community, a curated hub and network for leaders turning AI hype into action. We truly believe you can't overinvest in AI learning. Onward.